Yeah, I think New Light was really an answer to some of the challenges we saw in Forsaken, right? Like people were like, Forsaken's the best Destiny's ever been. It's incredible. You should totally jump in. All you have to do is go buy Destiny 2, and then Curse of Osiris, and then Warmind, and then play all that stuff, and then I'll see you in 4 weeks if you've decided to do all those things. And we're like, man, it's too hard to get into Destiny 2 in that world. And so there's a lot of really cool content people weren't experiencing, and we knew people wanted to check it out, and we're kind of daunted by that proposition. So we're like, what if we just stripped all that away and said, just come in and play the game. There's lots of stuff to do. You can play strikes, you can play all these open worlds, you can experience the really fun combat you've heard about. And if you decide it's something for you, great, you can jump into a season or connect with some friends. And if you decide it's not for you, or you just want to keep having that experience, like, that's cool too.
So for a New Light player, you start the Cosmodrome, and you play through one mission that helps you get your bearings, right? How do you play this game, right? How do you shoot? How do you do grenades and all that? And then you end up in the tower right away. So for a New Light player, one of our goals was to not overwhelm you with all of the content that is in Destiny. It's a lot. And so as a new player, you start in the tower, and if you want, you can open up your map and you can see that the tower is available and EDZ destination is available, right? And so the other destinations are there, but they require XP to unlock. And for us, it was about new players not being super overwhelmed. So we don't want to we're like, oh, we're going to lock you off on this content and you won't be able to play for like a really long time. It's not. It's about, okay, I'm going to play on EDZ for a while. I'm going to go do some public events. I'm going to do some adventures and quests that New Light players can play. And while you're doing anything that gives you XP, right, we'll unlock the destinations in the background. So after a short time, you can go and jump into the next destination.
Yeah, we were seeing New Light as a true new user experience. So we're trying to strike the balance between how much do we need to tell you about the world? Like, how do you move through the world? How do you jump through the world? What does it mean to go onto a destination? What's the library of activities that you're going to be doing there? Whether it's interfacing with Devran or going off and doing bounties or lost sectors. There's like a lot when you start to unpack it. And conversely, making sure we're not putting too much time and too much barriers between you and just like jumping into a strike with your buddies. Or if you're into a raid, like what's the shortest path for me to get there, or going to the moon. So I think we've got a pretty good balance to start, but it's going to get refined over time. We're going to watch what people do and what players do as they come in, and we're going to be really interested to see how they view it. It's our first real go at creating a kind of experience like this for Destiny. So, but it is really about marrying those two things. Like, how do we ease people into the world where they're not totally overwhelmed, but how do we make sure we're actually getting them to all of the content that they want to see in the world? We're not gating a lot of content, so we're trying to get them to all those experiences as quickly as it makes sense. And so we're taking our first shot at like, what do we think? And obviously we've play tested it and tried it out, but there's nothing like a whole bunch of new players coming in and throwing themselves against it to tell you what the experience really is. Yeah.
And for New Light players, we have a main quest line. It's kind of the focus of how you would experience the content, and the main quest line is to help you understand like what is all available, and because we have content like strikes and even past seasonal content that is available for new players, and so this quest line is pretty long, but what it does is it gives you like a new goal, right? It says, oh, have you been to this Titan? Like, have you been to EDZ yet? Have you checked out like the Strike playlist? And so we just want players to understand what is all available, and they can follow the quest line.
It's a really interesting challenge too, because when you think about like your experience playing a strike or my experience playing a strike, like I've got it memorized. Like I know when my super is going to be up when I jump over the chasm, in the knocker strike. I know exactly where these things are going to happen. For a new player, and some of these folks that we're seeing in playtest coming in are. Some of them are learning how to play a shooter. Some of them are learning how to play Destiny and what it means in Destiny. And so we're trying to make sure we're not trying to casualize the game. We're not trying to make it easy, but we're just trying to make sure people understand what's there and available and how they can be successful in the game. So it's a hard balance to strike, and I'm pretty sure we're going to get a lot of things right and a lot of things wrong, and we're going to tune it.
Obviously, when we update the core game and content moves and the world evolves, that New Light experience will have to evolve with it. And so that'll be like the focus for myself and the people working on New Light, is how are we going to change it over time, because the game is going to change over time too, right?
Is it a new era for Destiny? Like, yeah, I think so. I think with New Light, specifically, like bringing in new players and breaking down those big franchise barriers and just making it really drop dead simple to get into the game. And I think some of that is because of those shifts that you're remarking on. Like, the game has changed year over year, and sometimes taken huge leaps forward, but players haven't really followed along, or some players haven't followed along. So New Light gives them the opportunity to really jump in and check out what Destiny is now, today. Shadowkeep is, I think, an evolution on the model Forsaken introduced, right? And Forsaken was borrowing a lot from the Taken King. So it's about deepening the world, going into those really crazy lore spaces that are a little bit weird and a little bit dark. And I think it's about moving player agency forward too, like finding ways for you to change the way you look, change the way you fight, and really feel accomplished in the world. And so that's the RPG and the MMO aspects of the game that we're really leaning into. So I think Shadowkeep is just taking that to a further degree, and we call it a first step, but I don't think it's the first step in the chain. Like when we look at where we were for Destiny 2 to Forsaken, I thought that was a pretty huge leap. And Shadowkeep's building on that, and we're going to keep building on that because we think that's the right direction to take the franchise.